She was once a homeless girl with nothing but honesty. Now she stands inside a world of glass buildings, expensive suits, and dangerous secrets. But success has a price. Someone is watching her. Someone is angry. And someone knows the truth about the night her parents died. When the past begins to rise again, Tiana must decide. Will she stay silent and safe? Or risk everything to uncover the truth? Because this time, it's not just about a wallet. It's about justice. Tiana stood in front of the tall glass building and took a slow breath. Just a few months ago, she had been sleeping behind a bakery. Now she had a job inside one of the biggest companies in the city. Every morning still felt unreal. She adjusted her simple but neat blouse and walked inside. The lobby was bright and cold. Workers in sharp suits moved quickly, holding laptops and phones. Some nodded at her politely, others looked away. Tiana was no longer invisible, and that made some people uncomfortable. When she reached her desk in the administrative department, she noticed two women whispering nearby. They stopped when she looked at them. She pretended not to care. Her phone buzzed. It was a notification. She opened it casually. Then her heart dropped. Someone had posted an old video online. It was from months ago when she was still homeless. She was sitting on cardboard, holding a small bag, looking tired and hopeless. The caption read, "From the street to the CEO's office." How did she really get there? Her hands began to shake. Within minutes, more messages appeared. Gold digger. She planned everything. Nobody is that lucky, Tiana swallowed hard. She had worked so hard to rebuild her life, but the internet did not care about truth. It only cared about drama. A shadow stopped near her desk. She looked up. It was Damian. He held his phone in his hand. His expression was calm, but his eyes were not. "I've seen it," he said quietly. She forced a small smile. "It's nothing." "It's not nothing," he replied. He lowered his voice. "Success attracts attention, and attention attracts enemies." Tiana looked down at her screen again. "How did they even get that video?" she whispered. Damian did not answer immediately. "That's what worries me," he said. Later that afternoon, the atmosphere in the office changed. People were staring openly now. One staff member walked past her desk and muttered, "Some people rise too fast." Tiana felt the words like a slap. She kept working. She would not cry. She would not break. That evening, she returned to her small apartment. It was not luxurious, but it was clean and safe. She locked the door carefully and leaned against it. Silence. Finally, she allowed herself to breathe. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. This one was not from social media. It was from an unknown number. Her heart began to race. She opened it slowly. The message was short. "You should have stayed poor." Her stomach tightened. Another message followed immediately. "Return what you took, or we expose the truth about your parents." The room felt suddenly smaller. Her parents. No one talked about them. No one knew details. What truth? Her fingers trembled as she typed back, "Who is this?" No reply. Instead, another message appeared. A photo. It was an old picture of her parents standing in front of a small office building. A building she did not recognize. Her chest felt heavy. Why would anyone send this? Why now? Tears filled her eyes, but she forced them back. She was no longer the girl who slept on the street. She was stronger now, but strength did not stop fear. There was a knock on her door. Her entire body froze. It was late. No one was supposed to visit. The knock came again. Slow. Calm. Her heart pounded in her ears. She walked quietly toward the door and looked through the small peephole. No one. The hallway was empty. Her breath became shallow. Another buzz from her phone. "Look outside." Tiana's pulse raced. She stepped back from the door. This was not a coincidence. Someone was playing with her. Someone wanted her afraid. She grabbed her phone and dialed Damian. He answered immediately. "Tiana?" "I think someone is watching me," she whispered. There was silence for 1 second. Then his voice became firm. "Stay inside. Lock everything. I'm sending security. Tiana nodded even though he couldn't see her. She locked the windows. She checked the bathroom. She turned off the lights. The apartment was dark now. She sat on the edge of her bed, phone in hand. Another message came. This is only the beginning. Tiana stared at the screen. Her honesty had changed her life, but it had also awakened something else, and whoever was behind this was not done with her yet. The next morning, Tiana barely slept. Her eyes felt heavy, but her mind would not rest. The messages from the unknown number kept repeating in her head. Return what you took. We expose the truth about your parents. She dressed quietly and left for work. 2 security officers were already waiting outside her building. Damian had not taken any chances. Inside the company, the air felt different, too quiet. People were not whispering anymore. They were watching. As she walked past the reception desk, she noticed something strange. A few staff members quickly turned their computer screens away when she passed. Her stomach tightened. When she reached her department, Mr. Kelvin called her immediately. Tiana, come with me. His tone was serious. Too serious. He led her upstairs to a small conference room. Several senior staff were seated inside. Damian was not there. Her heart began to beat faster. What is this about? She asked softly. Mr. Kelvin placed a file on the table and pushed it toward her. Explain this. She opened it. Her breath stopped. It was a transaction report showing that a large amount of company money had been transferred from a restricted account, and next to the approval line, her name. No, she whispered. I didn't sign this. One of the board members leaned forward. Your digital signature is here. That's impossible, she said quickly. I don't even have access to that account. The room grew tense. We checked the system, another voice said. The login came from your employee ID. Her chest tightened. This was happening again. The same nightmare. Being called a thief. But this time, it was worse. This is not me, she said firmly, even though her hands were shaking. Someone is setting me up. A woman from accounting spoke coldly. You have a history of suspicious attention. Tiana looked at her in disbelief. What does that mean? It means, the woman continued, you suddenly rise from the street into a powerful man's life. And now, money goes missing. The words cut deep. The door opened. Damian walked in. His presence changed the room instantly. What's going on? He asked calmly. Mr. Kelvin explained quickly. Damian listened without interrupting. Then he turned to Tiana. Did you authorize this transfer? She looked into his eyes. No. He studied her face carefully. There was no fear of guilt in her eyes. Only fear of betrayal. Damian turned back to the board. Who verified the login records? He asked. We did, one man replied. Show me the raw system logs, Damian said. The man hesitated. They're being processed. Damian's expression hardened. Processed? Silence filled the room. Tiana's heart pounded. Something was wrong. Very wrong. At that moment, her phone buzzed inside her bag. She hesitated. Damian noticed. Check it, he said quietly. She pulled it out. Another message from the unknown number. We told you to return what you took. Another message followed. Next time, we won't frame you. We'll destroy you. Her breath became shallow. She turned the phone slightly toward Damian. He read it. His jaw tightened. This is coordinated, he said calmly. One of the board members spoke quickly. Are you suggesting this is an internal conspiracy? Damian looked around the room slowly. Yes. The word fell heavily. The staff shifted uncomfortably. Damian continued. No one touches a restricted account without clearance from upper management. A cold silence filled the space. Tiana realized something. Whoever was behind this had power. Real power. Not just gossip. Not just planted evidence. System-level access. Damian leaned forward. Freeze the transaction immediately. Lock all executive access. I want every log pulled. The board members exchanged glances. One of them forced a smile. That seems excessive. Damian's voice turned sharp. It seems necessary. Tiana felt something changing. This was no longer about rumors. This was war. As the meeting ended, Damian walked beside her quietly. "Don't panic," he said. "I'm not panicking," she replied softly. She was afraid, but she was not weak. He stopped walking. "They want you to break," he said. She looked up at him. "I won't." He studied her for a second. "Good." Her phone buzzed again. Another message. This one was different. It was a short video clip. She pressed play. The video showed an old office building. Her father's voice could be heard faintly in the background. Then the video cut off. Her blood ran cold. That building. The same one from the photo last night. She looked at Damian. "They know something about my parents." Damian's eyes darkened. "And now," he said quietly, "we're going to find out what." The rest of the day felt heavy. Tiana tried to focus on her work, but her mind was not in the office. It was in the video, in the old building, in her father's faint voice. That night, she met Damian in his private office after everyone had left. The city lights glowed through the tall glass windows behind him. "Play it again," he said. Tiana placed her phone on his desk and pressed play. The short video showed the old office building again. The camera moved slightly as if someone was hiding while recording. Then her father's voice was heard clearly this time. "We can't ignore this fraud any longer." The video ended. Damian leaned back in his chair. "Your father worked as an accountant, right?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "But he never talked about problems at work." "Maybe he didn't want to worry you." Tiana stared at the screen. "My parents died in a car accident," she said quietly. "That's what everyone told me." Damian's eyes were serious. And what if it wasn't just an accident? The words felt like a punch to her chest. Before she could respond, his computer screen lit up. A security alert. Damian frowned. "What is it?" she asked. He turned the screen slightly so she could see. Someone had tried to access the company's internal server again, using an executive-level password, but the access point was not from inside the building. It was remote. "Someone is watching us," Damian said. "And they have high clearance." Tiana felt cold. "So this isn't just about me," she whispered. "No," Damian replied. "It's bigger." The next morning, Tiana noticed something new. A senior board member named Mr. Adeyemi smiled at her in the hallway. He had never spoken to her before. "Good morning, Tiana," he said warmly. She forced a polite smile. "Good morning, sir." "You're adjusting well, I see." His tone was too friendly. "Yes, sir," she replied. He leaned slightly closer. "You must be careful in this company. Not everyone is happy when a person rises too quickly." His eyes held something she did not like. Was it warning or threat? Later that afternoon, Tiana went to visit Damian's mother again. The elderly woman sat peacefully near the window in her wheelchair. "You look troubled," she said softly. Tiana nodded. "I think my parents were involved in something dangerous before they died." The older woman looked at her carefully. "Truth has a way of returning," she said. "But when it does, it shakes everything." "Should I stop?" Tiana asked. "If you stop," the woman replied gently, "they win." That evening, Tiana left the company later than usual. As she walked toward the parking area, she felt it again. That feeling, like someone was watching. She turned around quickly. Nothing, just cars and empty space. Her phone buzzed. Another message. "Meet me if you want the full truth." Below it was an address. An old neighborhood on the other side of the city. Her heart raced. She immediately called Damian. "I got another message," she said. "Send it to me," he replied. She forwarded it. Silence. Then his voice changed. "That address belongs to an abandoned property." "Should we ignore it?" she asked. Damian paused. "No." The next day they drove together to the location. The building looked old and forgotten. Dust covered the windows. The paint was peeling. Tiana's hands trembled as they stepped inside. A man sat on a broken chair in the corner. Older, thin, nervous. He looked at Tiana and froze. "You look like your father," he whispered. Her breath caught. "You knew him?" she asked. The man nodded slowly. "He found something he shouldn't have," the man said. He was about to report it. "Report what?" Damian asked firmly. The man opened his mouth. Then suddenly a loud crash echoed outside. The man's face turned pale. "They're here," he whispered. "Who?" Tiana asked urgently, but before he could answer, he ran toward the back door and disappeared. Damian rushed outside. Empty street. No one. When they turned back, the man was gone. Only one thing remained on the broken chair. A small flash drive. Tiana stared at it. Her hands shook as she picked it up. Whatever was inside that drive was the reason her parents never came home, and someone was desperate to keep it buried. Tiana held the small flash drive tightly in her hand as she and Damian rushed back to the car. "Do you think he will come back?" she asked. Damian shook his head. No. He was scared. Very scared. They drove straight to Damian's private office. He locked the door behind them. "Whatever is inside this," he said, looking at the flash drive, "someone didn't want us to see it." Tiana felt her heart pounding. "Open it." Damian inserted the flash drive into his computer. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then a folder appeared. Inside were scanned documents, voice recordings, and spreadsheets. Damian opened the first document. It showed company payment records from years ago. Tiana stared at the company name at the top of the page. It was familiar. Very familiar. "It's one of your partner companies," she whispered. Damian's face grew serious. He opened another file. This one showed large amounts of money being transferred into private accounts. The names of the account holders were hidden, but one name stood out clearly. Her father's name, but not as a receiver. As the person who had flagged the transactions. "He discovered financial fraud," Damian said quietly. Tiana felt dizzy. So he wasn't involved. He was trying to expose it. Damian clicked on one of the voice recordings. A shaky male voice filled the room. "If anything happens to me, it means I was right. The board is hiding millions. I will not stay silent." Tiana froze. "That's my father's voice." Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't look away from the screen. "He knew he was in danger," she whispered. Damian stopped the recording. "This is bigger than I thought." Before they could speak again, Damian's office phone rang. He answered. "Yes." His expression changed immediately. "What do you mean it's missing?" He stood up. "Lock down the archive room. No one enters." He ended the call. "What happened?" Tiana asked. "The company archive room was broken into," he said. "Old financial files are gone." Tiana's blood ran cold. "They know we have something." Damian nodded. "They're cleaning their tracks." Suddenly, the lights flickered. For a moment, the office went dark. Tiana's breath caught. When the lights came back on, Damian walked quickly to the window. Across the street, a black car was parked. The engine started. The car drove away slowly. "They're watching," Damian said quietly. Later that evening, Tiana returned to her apartment with extra security outside. She sat alone on her bed, staring at her phone. Her parents were not careless, they were brave, but bravery had cost them everything. Her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Her chest tightened as she opened it. "You should have stayed out of it," a second message followed. "Next time, someone you love will pay the price." Her hands trembled. They weren't just threatening her anymore. They were threatening Damian, his mother, anyone close to her. The next morning, the tension inside the company was clear. Staff moved quietly. Board members whispered behind closed doors. When Tiana walked past Mr. Adeyemi again, he gave her a calm smile. "Trouble seems to follow you," he said softly. She stopped walking. "Or maybe trouble was already here," she replied. For a moment, his smile faded. Later that afternoon, Damian called an emergency meeting with the board. Tiana was not allowed inside, but she waited outside the conference room. Voices rose inside. Arguments. Accusations. After almost an hour, the doors opened. Board members walked out one by one. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. Damian stepped out last. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. "They tried to suspend me," he said quietly. Tiana stared at him. "For what?" "For damaging the company's image." She understood immediately. They wanted him out of the way. "If you're gone," she said slowly, "they can destroy everything." Damian nodded. "This isn't just about your parents anymore." "What is it about?" she asked. He looked at her directly. "It's about who really controls this company." Her phone buzzed again. She opened it carefully. A new message appeared. This time it was a picture. A photo of Damian's mother sitting by the window. Taken today. Taken from outside. Tiana felt her knees weaken. Below the photo, one sentence. "Stop digging, or she disappears." Her breath became shallow. They had crossed the line. And now, this was war. Tiana could not breathe. She stared at the photo of Damian's mother again. It was real. It was taken that morning. The angle showed the window from outside. "They're serious," she whispered. Damian's jaw tightened. "They want us afraid." "And they are succeeding," she said softly. He looked at her. "Fear is what they expect. We give them something else." That night, security around Damian's house was doubled. Cameras were checked. Guards were placed outside every entrance. But danger does not always knock at the front door. The next afternoon, Tiana left the company early. She needed air. She needed to think. Her phone buzzed again. "If you want this to end, come alone." Below the message was another address, an empty warehouse near the industrial area. She stared at the screen. Her heart told her to ignore it, but her mind told her something else. If she didn't go, they might hurt someone. She called Damian. He did not answer. He was inside another board meeting. She sent him a short message. "I'm handling something. I'll call you soon." Then she did something brave, or maybe foolish. She went. The warehouse looked abandoned, broken windows, rusted metal doors. Silence. She stepped inside slowly. "Hello," she called out. Her voice echoed. The door slammed shut behind her. Her heart jumped. Two men stepped out from the shadows. They wore caps and dark clothes. Their faces were not clear. One of them spoke. "You should have listened." "What do you want?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The second man walked closer and held up a folder. "Sign this." She looked at it. It was a written confession. It said she admitted to stealing company money. It said she lied about her parents. It said everything was her fault. "If you sign," the first man said calmly, "this all ends." "And if I don't?" The man smiled slightly. "Accidents happen." Her hands trembled. They were trying to erase her. Erase her parents. Erase the truth. "I won't sign," she said. The second man stepped closer. "You think the billionaire can protect you?" She did not answer. Because in that moment, she heard something outside. Car doors. Footsteps. The warehouse door suddenly burst open. Damian walked in. Security officers behind him. The two men panicked. One tried to run. Security grabbed him. The other dropped the folder and tried to escape through the back door. But more guards were waiting outside. Within seconds, both men were on the ground. Tiana's legs gave way slightly and Damian rushed to her. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head. "I'm fine." But she was not fine. She was shaking. He looked at the men. "Who sent you?" he demanded. They stayed silent. Damian bent down and removed one man's cap. Something caught his eye. A company badge. Executive level. Tiana saw it too. Her heart stopped. "That means," she whispered. Damian stood up slowly. "This is coming from inside." The police arrived shortly after. The men were taken away. But, before they were put into the police car, one of them turned toward Tiana. His eyes were not angry. They were afraid. "You don't understand," he muttered. "It's bigger than you think." "Who?" Damian demanded. The man looked at him carefully. Then he said one name. "Mr. Adeyemi." Tiana felt the world spin. The same man who smiled politely. The same man who warned her about rising too fast. The same man who sat quietly in board meetings. Damian's expression changed completely, cold, controlled, dangerous. He turned to Tiana. "It's time we stop reacting," he said. "It's time we attack." Tiana nodded slowly. Her fear was still there, but something else was stronger now. Anger. They tried to silence her parents. They tried to frame her. They tried to make her sign a lie. No more. As they drove back to the company, her phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. She opened it. "You think you won?" A second message appeared. "The board meeting tomorrow will change everything." She looked at Damian. He was already reading the message over her shoulder. He gave a small nod. "Good," he said quietly. "Let them bring it." The next morning, the company felt like a battlefield. No one smiled. No one greeted anyone. Staff walked quickly, avoiding eye contact. News about the warehouse arrest had already spread. Tiana walked beside Damian toward the executive floor. "Are you ready?" he asked her quietly. She nodded. She was afraid, but she was also tired of running. Inside the boardroom, the long glass table reflected the tension in the air. Mr. Adeyemi was already seated. His face was calm. Too calm. Other board members sat around him, whispering. Damian entered confidently. Tiana followed behind him, even though she was not officially invited. Mr. Adeyemi looked up. "This meeting is private," he said smoothly. Damian did not sit. "Not today." Silence filled the room. Mr. Adeyemi folded his hands. "We have serious matters to discuss. Your recent actions have embarrassed this company." "Is that so?" Damian replied calmly. "You accuse a senior board member without proof. You involve police. You create chaos." Tiana stepped forward. "Your men tried to force me to sign a false confession." Mr. Adeyemi did not look at her. "You have no evidence that connects me to those men." Damian smiled slightly. "Actually," he said, "we do." He pressed a button on the remote in his hand. The large screen at the front of the boardroom lit up. Security footage appeared. It showed Mr. Adeyemi meeting one of the arrested men 2 days earlier in a private parking area. The date and time were clear. Murmurs filled the room. Mr. Adeyemi's expression changed for the first time. "That proves nothing," he said quickly. Damian pressed another button. An audio recording played. It was the same man's voice from the warehouse. "If she doesn't sign, threaten the old woman. That will break her." The room went silent. Some board members looked shocked, others looked away. Mr. Adeyemi stood up. "This is illegal," he shouted. "You recorded private conversations." "You tried to destroy lives," Damian replied coldly. "That is far worse." Mr. Adeyemi's face turned red. "You think exposing me will save you," he said bitterly. "This company runs on secrets." Tiana stared at him. "You killed my parents' future," she said softly. "And you tried to kill mine." He laughed lightly. "Your father was a fool. He should have stayed quiet." The words hit her like a slap. Damian's fists tightened, but he remained calm. "You just confessed," he said. At that exact moment, the boardroom doors opened. Police officers stepped inside. Mr. Adeyemi's confidence finally cracked. "You can't do this," he said as officers approached him. One officer placed handcuffs on his wrists. "You are under investigation for fraud, conspiracy, and attempted coercion." Board members watched in silence as he was escorted out, but before leaving he turned toward Damian. "You think this ends with me?" he said quietly. "You don't know who else is involved." The door closed behind him. The room felt heavy. Damian looked at the remaining board members. "Anyone else want to confess?" he asked calmly. No one spoke. Tiana's heart was still racing. It felt like victory, but something was not right. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown message. She opened it slowly. "You removed one piece, the game continues." Her blood ran cold. She showed Damian. He read it carefully. "This isn't over," she whispered. He nodded. "No, it's not." Later that evening, Tiana sat alone on the company balcony, looking at the city lights. She thought about her father's voice, about the flash drive, about Mr. Adeyemi's words. You don't know who else is involved. Someone bigger was still hiding, someone who had power even beyond the board. Her phone buzzed again. A final message. Meet me if you want the final truth about your parents. Attached was a photo, a familiar old building, the same one from the flash drive. Her heart began to pound. Damian stepped onto the balcony behind her. She turned slowly and showed him the phone. He looked at the building carefully. This, he said quietly, is where everything began. Tiana swallowed hard. And maybe, she said softly, where it ends. The old building stood in silence, broken windows, cracked walls, faded paint. It looked forgotten by the world. But for Tiana, it felt alive. This is where my father worked, she asked quietly. Damian nodded. Yes, before the company moved to its new headquarters. 2 security cars were parked behind them. Damian refused to take risks this time. Whoever sent that message wants us here, he said. Tiana stared at the entrance. Then let's stop hiding. They walked inside together. Dust filled the air. Old desks were covered in white sheets. Papers were scattered across the floor. The building felt like a memory frozen in time. Her phone buzzed again. 2nd floor, old conference room. Damian read the message. Stay close, he said. They climbed the stairs slowly. When they reached the 2nd floor, a single light was on inside the conference room. The door was slightly open. Damian pushed it gently. Inside, a man stood by the window. Tiana froze. She recognized him. Mr. Kelvin, the quiet operations manager, the man who always looked nervous. You, she whispered. He turned slowly. His eyes were tired. I never wanted this, he said. Damian stepped forward. Then explain. Mr. Kelvin swallowed. Your father discovered everything, he said, looking at Tiana. The fraud, the secret accounts, the board members involved. Tiana's heart pounded. But Mr. Adeyemi was arrested, she said. Yes, Mr. Kelvin replied, but he was not the head. Silence filled the room. Then who is? Damian demanded. Mr. Kelvin looked at him carefully. You, he said. The word hit like a bomb. Damian's expression hardened. What are you talking about? Your late father, Mr. Kelvin said slowly. He started the system years ago. He created the hidden accounts. The board only continued it. Tiana stared at Damian in shock. That's a lie, she said immediately. Damian's voice was calm but cold. My father built this company. Yes, Mr. Kelvin said, and he built the corruption too. He placed a folder on the table. Your father and Tiana's father were once partners in exposing the fraud, but when things got dangerous, your father chose power. The room felt heavy. Tiana's breathing became uneven. No, she whispered. Mr. Kelvin opened the folder. Inside were old contracts, signed documents, bank transfers. One signature was clear, Damian's father. And when Tiana's father refused to stay silent, Mr. Kelvin continued, an accident happened. The words echoed. An accident happened. Tiana's legs felt weak. You're lying, she said. I wish I was, he replied quietly. Damian stared at the documents. His face showed no emotion. Why are you telling us this now? He asked. Mr. Kelvin's voice shook. Because I'm tired of carrying guilt, and because the board planned to blame everything on Tiana's father forever. Tiana felt tears burn her eyes. So my parents were not criminals, she whispered. No, he said. They were brave. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind them. Police officers entered the room. Damian had secretly informed them before arriving. Mr. Kelvin did not resist. I deserve this, he said softly. As the officers placed handcuffs on him, he looked at Damian. Your father is gone, but the system he built remains. Decide what kind of leader you want to be. After he was taken away, silence filled the old conference room. Tiana looked at Damian. He looked different, not angry, not shocked. just thoughtful. My father made mistakes, Damian said quietly, but I will not repeat them. Tiana nodded slowly. The truth hurt, but it also freed her. My parents tried to stop corruption, she said. They didn't die in shame. No, Damian replied. They died with integrity. Outside, the sky was dark, but for the first time Tiana felt light. The lies were exposed, the corruption was uncovered, and the past no longer controlled her. As they walked toward the exit, her phone buzzed one last time. An unknown message. You found the truth. Now build something better. No threats, no fear, just silence. Tiana looked up at the night sky. Her story did not begin with a wallet. It began with honesty, and it would end the same way. The old building was finally quiet. Police lights flashed outside as officers finished their work. Mr. Kelvin had been taken away. The hidden files were secured. The truth was no longer buried. Tiana stood near the doorway and looked back at the empty conference room one last time. This is where my parents fought, she said softly. Damian stood beside her. And this is where their names are cleared. The night air felt different now. Not heavy, not threatening, free. The next morning, news spread across the city. Headlines filled social media and television screens. Major corporate fraud exposed, board members arrested, new leadership promises transparency. But the most important headline for Tiana was simple. Accountant cleared after years of false blame. Her father's name was finally restored. Her mother's name was no longer tied to shame. Tiana sat in her small apartment holding the newspaper. Tears ran down her face, but this time they were not from fear. They were from relief. Her phone rang. It was Damian. Are you ready? He asked. For what? For the announcement. Later that afternoon, the company's large conference hall was filled with staff, reporters, and cameras. Tiana stood quietly at the side of the stage. Damian stepped forward to speak. His voice was calm and steady. My father built this company, he began. But mistakes were made. And those mistakes hurt innocent people. The room was silent. Today, we begin again. No hidden accounts. No secret systems. No corruption. Applause filled the hall. Then Damian did something unexpected. He turned toward Tiana and held out his hand. She hesitated for a second, then walked onto the stage. This young woman, he continued, once returned my lost wallet when she had nothing. Her honesty saved more than money. It saved this company. The crowd clapped louder. Tiana felt nervous but strong. Damian continued, in honor of her parents, we are creating a scholarship foundation for young accountants who believe in integrity. Tiana's breath caught. A foundation in her parents' name. The audience stood in applause. Later that evening, Tiana visited her parents' grave for the first time in years. The sky was soft and golden. She knelt down and placed flowers carefully. It's over, she whispered. I didn't let them erase you. A gentle breeze moved through the trees. For the first time since they died, she did not feel anger. Only peace. Footsteps approached quietly. Damian stood a few steps behind her. They would be proud of you, he said softly. She stood up slowly. I used to think my life changed because of a wallet, she said. But it changed because I chose honesty. Damian smiled slightly. And you kept choosing it. They walked away from the cemetery together. The city lights began to shine as night fell. Tiana looked at the skyline. She was no longer the homeless girl sitting on cardboard. She was no longer the girl being framed. She was no longer afraid of the past. She was a woman who survived, a woman who fought, a woman who stood in truth. Her phone buzzed softly. This time, it was not a threat. It was a message from the foundation team. First scholarship applications received. She smiled. A new chapter was beginning. Not one built on fear, not one built on secrets, but one built on honesty. And this time, no one could take that away from her.